evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Trial of Champions presented by Elo Hell Esports. I am Shy Guy, joined by Paul Zabul this evening as we get ready to dive into the action. And Paul, it really warms my heart here tonight to see all of these beautiful people out in chat, not only here to support Tier 2, Tier 3 Overwatch, but also here for such an incredible cause.
Oh yeah, today, don't forget guys, if you're just tuning in, we are partnered with Pank One. That is a Canadian foundation supporting the fight against pancreatic cancer, the fight for a cure. Pancreatic cancer is actually one of the most deadly forms of cancer. If you are diagnosed with it, it has an 8% survival rate.
Yeah.
So heartbreakingly low. So make sure you type in !donate into the chat. If you can only donate $1, even so much as $1 would be fine. There's a few hundred of you. If 10% of you donate $1, that is phenomenal. And that half that money will go to the prize pool for the players you are watching, and the other half goes to the fight against pancreatic cancer. So you're doubling up on supporting phenomenal causes. As long as you hit, once again, !donate and put in at least like $1.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I can't even think of like a better way to spend my money. Just, getting to send it to such an incredible cause, making a real difference in the world. And then, of course, putting a little bit of money into the pockets of some hungry Overwatch players. And that's always a good feeling as well, to be sure.
Sure. And, we get some fire matches coming out today. Next one's going to be nasty, right?
I know this is going to be great. I mean, we are still making our way through the knockout stages of the tournament, trying to decide who is going to be starting off in that upper bracket with our top 4 teams, the invited teams. We already have 2 of them, but now it's time to figure out those last 2 teams. And first up, it's going to be Nocturnal taking on Hour Zero.
This is a spicy rematch, actually, for these 2 teams. These 2 teams faced off in the Prospect Cup a couple weeks ago. Nocturnal took it 3-0 against Hour Zero. So Hour Zero, they're going to be looking for revenge here today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and if you look at kind of the recent results just in general for both these teams, if you go back to the third Impact Cup a while back, Nocturnal getting the win there. In Open Division, Nocturnal is on a great run. They're still up in the upper bracket of that. And Hour Zero, of course, already now out of that event. So this is an opportunity for them to get a little bit of more experience under their belt against one of those top teams in NA and really test their mettle here tonight.
Well, and let's take a look at the rosters because there's a bunch of key players on both sides. First, I'm going to look at Hour Zero because I think we can kind of call them the underdog this match. But there's some players I'm looking at to hopefully stepping up. The first I want to point out is Cupcake. Because when I got to watch and cast Hour Zero back in the Prospect Cup, I think she was a phenomenal support player, especially on the Baptiste with her immortality fields. Few Baptistes in Tier 2, Tier 3 time it as well as she does. Sinoid and Viral also have great synergy on the DPS. If one of them's distracting, the other one is usually dealing a ridiculous amount of damage and finding value. But looking at Nocturnal, they're no slouches themselves. On who builds Blades, so absurdly quick most of the time. Sometimes getting Blades in like 20 seconds in crazy team fights, right? So this is certainly an uphill battle for Hour Zero, but I'm excited to see how they can adapt and how much closer they can make this from the last couple times these 2 teams have faced off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely going to be a test here tonight for Hour Zero, but I do think that these players are really hungry and looking to prove themselves. So this is an opportunity to do that, especially we're in a best of 3 series here tonight. There's a real chance to kind of get a couple good punches in, and you can knock somebody on their butt when they probably aren't expecting it. So I'm excited to see what Hour Zero can bring to the table here. We're kicking it off on Lijiang Tower. It's Control Center to get us underway, and you know what that means. It's the Symmetras, it's the Junkrats in play.
Man, I love that Tier 3 Overwatch has just decided, you know what? We're going back to Junkrat. Genji's cool and all, but on Control Center, it is all about the spam, and Viral already gets the better end of it.
Yeah, that's an excellent start here for Hour Zero as they're just going to press the attack, going all the way towards the Club with the charge, backed up beautifully by that immortality field from Cupcake, and an excellent start here for the underdogs.
Well, and I like that our Zero are running the Orisa Reinhardt because it's good for the brawl, but it also provides more consistent shielding, right? The Orisa is solid in the front line and can really negate anyone who wants to come forward and push, like Linatan right now. Viral's got the defensive positioning. He should get the better end of this Junkrat battle too.
No, definitely now pushing forward with the rest of the team. The Shatter comes down, not really landing a whole lot there for Trinclaw, but still, our Zero going in deep, trying to keep the aggression up, and they're gonna do so nicely. That Amp Matrix helps Cupcake clean up on a kill or two, and now they're just gonna sweep the remaining members of Nocturnal back.
Yeah, that Earth Shatter from Train Cloud didn't really get a whole lot, but honestly, it split up Nocturnal, and that was more than enough for the rest of our Zero to push in and find the advantages. Now we're coming up to things like Riptire for the defending team. You're looking for like maybe a miracle Earth Shatter from Linatan here to get Nocturnal into this fight. The Amplification Matrix will give him some space, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, the Shatter only hits onto one, and Linatan already down. Here comes the tire. It's immediately dealt with, but the pressure is still there from our Zero. They are relentless right now, and they just keep shoving Nocturnal back.
The tire at the end there was maybe a bit ambitious from Viral, and actually, it looks like Nocturnal are just going to push this. They're finally starting to get picks on the board here, Shy Guy.
No, indeed, they will be able to turn this around. Now it's just about how quickly can they clean this up. Can the stall from our Zero get them into one fight territory? It doesn't quite seem like they're going to be able to do it, but the Lucio back in here. Eski buys a little bit more time. It's going to be about 85% on the board.
All right, now we get our first breath of fresh air here for Nocturnal. And they didn't have to use a whole lot to find that either, because Anhu got that first pick onto Eski, who was working up towards that sound barrier. We're looking at Riptire, we're looking at Bob. There's a lot on the board for Nocturnal to defend with, and if they can keep finding picks to open up these fights, they're not even gonna have to use ultimates. This is more time off of the clock, beautifully wasted. Our Zero, rather, are gonna have to engage so aggressively, probably with the Amplification Matrix, ideally, but honestly, any of their ultimates could be used at the beginning of a fight. I'd like to see the Amplification Matrix first, because I think it's the least valuable. But once again, Viral's just gone. Like, are you going to run into this 5v6? It's really hard to do so. And Cupcake, too. This is so much time stalled right now, Shy Guy.
No, that's absolutely massive. It's going to allow Nocturnal to just kind of equalize the ult economy a little bit more here. They're going to have just an absolute war chest going to this next fight. But again, our Zero right there, ready to take this fight. It's going to kick off with that Amp Matrix, but here's the tire in from the back. Anu trying to buy some time, at least baits out that beat, but still Eski going down, and the remaining members of our Zero just cannot stand up.
Yeah, and Eski getting caught at the end there. Eski thought that he could take down the Riptire, but didn't time it perfectly with the shields, and Anhu's able to just flip the switch, blow up the main support once again. And now we're looking at last fight territory, more than likely, for our Zero to enter on in. They need to get aggressive, and they need to stay alive while doing so. Without the beat, that's pretty hard. Nox is just holding on to his own sound barrier. This is a tricky situation for our Zero.
Yeah, here comes the tire. It does manage to get onto Zimmer. That's a great opening pick. The beat cannot do anything to save the Ashe there. This is now the rest of our Zero pushing in aggressively. They traded out Reinhardt, but that supercharger on the point from Beacon Bower is just giving them so much zoning potential right now. They push the Nocturnal back a little bit for the time being, but the re-engage is coming.
Oh, Gravitic Flux. Did that whiff? Did that completely whiff there? No, I think he caught Sinoid, but he needs to actually finish that kill off, and he can't. What a boop!
Oh my god, the hero play there from Eski, but still Linatan managed to pick up two with the Fire Strike, whiffs on the Shatter, and now it's just an all-out brawl on the point. Nocturnal seems to have the numbers. They've got the tire coming in. It's going to deny Viral his ult. I mean, never mind. No, he gets it off the double kill. The Junkrats are here to save the day, and Viral, ow!
Holy moly, a fraction of a second there separates our Zero from winning and losing that first point. If they make no mistake, if Anhu's Riptire gets the better end of that trade there, no chance. absolutely none for Hour Zero to restabilize. That first round goes to Nocturnal. But just that millisecond made all the difference.
I thought he had it. I mean, he had Viral just dead to rights at that point with the tire. Doesn't even manage to get the kill somehow. The wall just barely obscuring and it comes up clutch there. As Hour Zero, they come out swinging in this series. And now we move over to Gardens where things going to be very interesting. We've got a great compositional matchup here, a very traditional comp from Hour Zero. Gonna have to deal with that dive coming in from Nocturnal, and we'll see how they manage that. Lynderton already chiming in the environmental kill on the Train Cloud. They were not ready for the Wrecking Ball.
Well, on the Bionade at the beginning of that from Skyward, hitting onto 3, you're popped there as Hour Zero. There's not much chance you can do anything. PG1 needs to eat those Bionades. Probably wasn't expecting an Ana to come out from the enemy team. Ana's pretty vulnerable in general. A lot of teams aren't generally running the Ana. It's certainly viable, make no mistake, especially since, you know, you can get those nasty nano blades onto Anhu. And man, if Skyward can keep hitting antis like this, you're gonna have a rough time. Train Cloud's over onto the Roadhog now, and actually I misspoke earlier. PG1 is on the team with the Ana, so obviously he's not going to eat those. So there was just shields, so you can't eat it with a shield. What you can do is die though, and Lynderton finds a good way to do that.
Yeah, I think the damage overwhelming there with the multiple stuns coming through from the shield bash and the flashbang there, and now the rest of the kills just falling immediately thereafter for Hour Zero. They find both the DPS. And now it's just a little bit of stall here from PG1. Good adaptation going over to this comp with the Roadhog with those extra stuns to lock down the mobile tanks.
And it's much beefier too, right? Because you got the Torbjorn there too. This is straight up anti-dive. As anti-dive as you can really get in the modern day and age of Overwatch. Anhu does have the blade. We're looking at a nano blade more than likely. Anhu's blades are kind of a toss-up though. If he uses it at the beginning of the fight, a lot of the time, Nocturnal, they don't find much value out of it.
Yeah, we'll see how that one's gonna go. It's gonna not even come out, it seems like, as the immediate kills going over to Hour Zero. They drop that Amp Matrix and they use it to full effect.
Yeah, that is a very inexpensive fight there for Hour Zero too. Just the Amplification Matrix, Cupcake's gonna have that back so soon. Great stall there. They'll get the advantage here on Gardens now. And we're still looking at a Molten Core that can deny entry onto the objective, right? And that can probably work you up to the Supercharger. As long as Anhu gets mitigated in this blade, Hour Zero should be able to hold on to this no problem.
All right, here it comes. He's knocked up into the sky. The Accretion connects onto Cynoid, sets him up. Okay. No flashbang today, no shield bash. Double kill there for Anhu has opened the door for Nocturnal to get in here, but it's not super clean. They're still having to deal with these tanky bodies on the side of Hour Zero. They're finally able to get in onto Train Cloud, but still just a chaotic fight on the point. They're trying to focus down Lynderton and Viral, but the damage on the back end is so massive for Hour Zero.
And we're gonna count him up, Shy Guy. One fight, one loss, where Anhu pulled the blade at the beginning and wasn't able to win the fight. It was good too. I thought I was gonna have to eat my words there. He got a couple kills, but the problem was there's still so many defensive resources for Hour Zero. With the Fortify, with the Overload, they could just walk onto the objective and clean people up. Now they got a rally too. They're just gonna play aggressive.
Yeah, we got rallies on both sides here, so everyone very tanky. Lynderton not tanky enough, does go down here. Now the early advantage for Hour Zero. The blade is out again. Anhu pulls it out in the middle of the fight, and now finding a little bit of purchase here. The Gravitic clutch from PG1 as well is helping them fight this one back, but he's got to finish off these last couple of kills and just can't quite seem to do it right now.
Oh, but he's holding on to this objective. They've gotten the flip. That might be enough. They just need to get in there. They need to live until their healers are returning, but no, they're not able to do so. It's a trickle onto the point now.
Yeah, and who is going to be able to get back in here faster? It seems like Nocturnal have more numbers on the point, and they have kind of the better composition here with Train Cloud back on the wrecking ball. They're making this work, but it's just incredibly chaotic right now.
Anhu gets the nano just to charge the blade and keep himself alive. Okay, finally, we're getting a reset. That was a chosen reset. He saw two of his team was down. Him and Cupcake go off the edge of their own volition. Train Cloud probably going to switch on over here. Yeah, to the Sigma, right? You want to take one more real fight with actual resources and a good composition, not something you pulled out to stall. PG1 is going to be at a slight disadvantage, or at least should be. Train Cloud looking a little low. Okay, he's going to be okay. He's not going to get picked. That would have been devastating. But even still, you're walking into so much here. Supercharger now on who's going to have a blade after this Bob expires. It's hard for our Zero.
Who almost going down there, has the deflect up and now ready to go with the blade in just a moment. That could seal the deal here for Nocturnal. If he can come up big, there it is. On going in deep, finds two, looking for a third here onto the Baptiste, and that should just about do it here as Nocturnal even things up.
And count him, Shy Guy. That was 2 blades from Anhu that were pulled out either toward the middle or end of the fight, and 2 fights where Nocturnal came out on top, right? And it really has to do with the way Nocturnal pull resources from the teams they play up against. They force a lot of resources early. Nocturnal like to have an aggressive, in-your-face kind of style, but a blade going into resources is much more difficult to make work than just using your own base resources and pulling out the other team's resources, right? So that back and forth, that trading of abilities is very important to keep an eye on in any meta, but especially when we're looking at blades versus things like immortality fields and armor packs.
Absolutely. Well, this time around, we're just going to be seeing both teams go with kind of standard compositions as we roll in onto Night Market. Everyone just kind of posturing around the courtyard right now. Everyone's spreading out. Barrel's going in for a little bit of damage, but forced back. Anhu, though, going to be the one to take a whip shot to the face and have to head back to spawn. Now an advantage for Nocturnal, and they're going to be able to kind of press this forward as they take out Train Cloud. They don't have position on the point, though, and that's going to cost them the first play.
Oh, and Viral's kind of out in no man's land right now. This is a 5v6. He'll win the 1v1 against Anhu, but he needs to get back to this fight.
Yes, indeed, but now coming in off the flank could be a potential difference maker, but still the frontline fight going over towards Nocturnal as they push onto the point. PG1 with a couple of kills, and now that's going to be a quick retake here for Nocturnal as they answer back.
Yeah, Viral falls back there to actually spawn camp 1v1 Anhu, which I suppose Anhu didn't see coming, but without the Genji in the fight, Nocturnal are willing to just take the 5v5, and once they've separated Sinoid from the rest of his team, it's really difficult for our Zero to really accomplish much of anything there. Rally coming up for Nocturnal. I'd like to see them use this early to sustain, but realistically speaking, considering Viral's pretty close to a blade and you still got Bob online for Sinoid, the resource advantage at least goes over to our Zero. They should be able to just press W and run into this fight.
Yeah, we're going to see traded Amp Matrices here to kick things off, as well as the Bob committed. But Anhu's going to be the one to find that opening pick. Has been getting the better of Viral so far, but this time in on the flank, looking for an opportunity to dash in, get some of those resets going as the cleanup comes through for Nocturne.
Yeah, we didn't see it on screen, but you can see in the kill feed, Anhu at the beginning there, nasty around the side. That's one of the great things about having the Genji set up on the objective, right? Because our Zero, when they come in, they have to worry about the objective, right? It's literally in the name, objective. You have to go for that, right? So Anhu has the ability to come around from the side. Viral, not so much. Now it comes down to whose blade is better, though. Anhu's could get charged by the supercharger. Viral's gonna have to wait a bit longer.
Yeah, does open things up well. Now gonna unsheath the blade, but going right into the deflect of Anhu, buys a little bit of time, but cannot stay alive for long. Finds a second there onto Nox, and now going in deep, looking to assassinate Cupcake as well, or assassinate Skyward as well, and keep this fight rolling. Our Zero, just in the nick of time here, are gonna be able to swing things back, but now no more room for error.
Yeah, good work there from Viral. He finds that first pick, but like you said, it's 96% for Nocturnal. They're coming back in with a supercharger and a blade. That's deadly enough. Even if Anhu uses this at the beginning of the fight and pulls all the resources and doesn't get anything, Gravitic Flux is still available for PG1. You need to counteract everything perfectly if you're our Zero right now to keep Nocturnal locked out and keep yourself alive on map number 1.
Yeah, and I actually love what we're seeing from Nocturnal here. They see the supercharger come out very, very early, and they immediately eliminate Beacon Bower right as that phase. Now a big advantage. Train Cloud. PG1 so good in that mini game, hitting the accretion onto the opposing Sigma, shuts down the Flux, and now it's time for that late team fight blade out from Anhu. He's looking for Train Cloud straight through the kinetic grasp. That should be it for Nocturnal here as they get the retake. Now they've just got to deal with these stragglers.
Yeah, Vital's not going to live very long here. Deflect has been buffed, but it's not a buff to your survivability. It's just a buff to how often you can toggle it. Nocturnal going to take home map number 1. Reminder, that is match point, series point for Nocturnal now, as it's only a first to 2 map wins. And Shy Guy, you called it perfectly in that last fight. Nocturnal just backed away, said, you know what, you want to throw out things like the supercharger, you want to throw out all your resources immediately, we'll just walk away. We'll come back in. We know we can beat you when we have an ultimate advantage. It's not going to even be close. And it wasn't. Nocturnal, phenomenal job there in that last fight.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned it at the time, but PG1 just absolutely massive on the Sigma throughout the entirety of that map, but especially there in that final fight, able to hit the accretion onto the gravitic flux that was coming out from Train Cloud, gets the better of that head-to-head matchup, and that's something that I think PG1 is especially excellent at playing Sigma, is that little mini game of how you position yourself when you use the gravitic flux to make sure that no one can stun you up, take you out, and being very cognizant of his own ability to make that kind of big impact play.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to say that PG1 got the better end of the Sigma there, right? You can even just look at that last fight. Beautiful accretion, and then where's PG1? Where's PG1 when he ults? He's so far in the sky, so hard to hit. He knew exactly what Train Cloud was going to go for after getting stunned out of his ultimate, and makes it so he could, you know, PG1, he can't even be stunned out of his ultimate. So wonderful work from Nocturnal there. I think hand and foot, they're getting the better end of Hour Zero right now. Hour Zero have chosen to take us to Rialto. So maybe they have something sneaky coming out here, but in the straight up mirror, Nocturnal are just winning pretty consistently.
Yeah, they definitely seem to have the upper hand right now. I'm wondering if potentially it could be a Widowmaker coming out of Sinoid. You know, that definitely has a lot of power here on Rialto.
Sure.
If you can find those angles, and I know that's a pick that he likes to go back to a lot.
Yeah, and Sinoid was, I feel, unusually quiet on Lijiang Tower compared to a lot of the games I've seen. Hour Zero, right? Viral was definitely carrying more so of the load. These guys can trade that back and forth sometimes, though. So maybe Sinoid was having more so the distraction role rather than the primary carry, the more consistent, I'm just going to input DPS. And, you know, when you're on Ashe, you got the Dynamite sets, a perfectly viable way to play Ashe. It just wasn't quite enough considering, honestly, mostly the tank differential coming in for these teams right now.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like it's the case in a lot of series right now. You know, playing around the Orisa is obviously so crucial to the meta at the moment with the way you set up those halts, and, you know, being able to kind of play that split push style where you've got the Sigma as well putting pressure from an opposite angle is really, really powerful right now. So I definitely think the tanks are making a huge impact. But now it's time to see if Hour Zero can answer back, if they can keep this series going a little bit longer here as they take us to Rialto. This is their last stand, at least here for tonight. You know, of course, if they do lose, they'll just be dropping down into that lower bracket.
Yeah, and, you know, it's not the end of the world if they do drop into the lower bracket, but it certainly doesn't give you the flexibility you would like. You don't get the practice you were kind of alluding to at the beginning of the stream against one of those higher end teams, right? The winner of this will go on to play Revival tomorrow, right? So you're imagining, you know, you would rather be the team that loses to Contenders Trials Contenders team than the team that loses to the team that probably loses to the Contenders Trials team, right?
Yes.
So, especially going to the bot. That's a very complicated and whack way I just phrased it, but you get the general idea. Nobody wants to take losses early. And it's actually Zemrit coming out on the Widowmaker alongside Sinoid. So we actually get that 1v1 starting us off here. Zemrit playing a little bit further back. This to me says that Although right now they're positioned on the high ground, yeah, Nocturnal are just going to back up and hold this corner.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you would expect here on Rialto. This is the standard, especially when you're playing with that Widow. You want to give her plenty of room to operate in, and that's exactly what Zimmer is doing right now, looking for this duel particular. It has been taking some safer angles to try and pick out Sinoid, but so far the frontline fight is getting underway here. Just some trading of damage going on between the Sigmas, but Nocturnal already getting forced out here a little bit. They use the halt to punish that aggression, though. That's well played there by Nocturnal, pulling back and really focusing in on the fire.
Man, that halt was beautiful. You called it perfect, Shy Guy. And honestly, considering how aggressive our Zero are playing, I'd like to see Sinoid over on the Ashe, right? If you're just going to face first brawl it out, at least throw the dynamite in there so you're applying a lot more pressure to the enemy team. Sinoid's not really getting a ton of value. And as that cart has been pushed past the choke point, it's going to be even more difficult for Sinoid to find a proper angle going into this fight.
Yeah, that's actually huge. A lot of cover now gone for the side of our Zero as they try to push in here. If they go down that main entrance, they're going to rotate up through the high ground instead, and that's a smart decision here. Gives them a solid position to try to stage this attack from, but they'll drop the Amp Matrix at the main entrance, and that's going to force Nocturnal to back up a little bit, but now Viral in behind, getting in a little bit of a duel, but not a lot of damage. Not going to stop the blade out from Anhu. He goes in very early, but can't quite find anything just yet. Beacon Bauer in the meantime finding two, and that's exactly what we're looking for out of our Zero.
Well, and Anhu pulled his blade out right after the rally came out from Eski. I mean, that's pretty ambitious. Admittedly, like, pulling the blade out immediately after the rally comes out is your best chance in theory, as the point just gets capped for free. This contest is way too late. But realistically, that was a low chance of working. So is this contest station. Gravitic Flux and everything?
And even if it does work, I mean, what does it really buy you? You've already given up point A, so we'll just have to see if Nocturnal can even make anything out of it. They're just getting swept away right now. Final kill there in onto Zimrit. They commit hard, and it just doesn't work at all.
Well, and the real problem is that they don't get anything out of our Zero, right? I mean, if you use the Gravitic Flux there and pull out the blade and the supercharger from the enemy team, okay, sure, that's fine. But nothing had to be invested from our Zero. They still got all the tools sitting pretty on the belt coming into this next fight.
Yeah, and there's the blade very early there from Viral. It's already going to be PG1, so no accretion to stop him, and all the kills flow in for our Zero. Now they've just got to turn their attention back towards Anhu, buying some time on the cart. Skyward somehow manages to get 2 kills on the tail end there, but it doesn't really matter. The progress will be made here.
Well, now the onus is kind of on the defending team to actually get aggressive. They need to pop the rally kind of earlier and push forward so that they can actually kind of retake control of this high ground. Okay, actually seems like our Zero are just going to give them the high ground. So now that flips. Our Zero need to get aggressive, and they're going to use the Amplification Matrix. Likely just going to start snowballing ults in their pocket right now.
Yeah, that's gonna force Nocturnal to just back up towards the stairs. They'll drop their own Amp Matrix, and you know they're going to be able to focus down Beacon Bauer. No Orisa in the fight means that our Zero, they have to push forward. They have no other choice but losing Viral, and now Anhu getting those dash resets in. Nocturnal gonna be able to stabilize once again on this defense.
Yeah, and it all comes down to control of that high ground. Because our Zero give up the stairwell, because they don't push forward while the cart is still moving, they allow a free setup to come through for Nocturnal. So then you can use the Amplification Matrix defensively. Skyward, he just waits until the rally comes out because he knows that's when our Zero is going to push. And there's a long hallway there. That's exactly where you want that to be put. Now we get this very interesting rotation with a Sim TP. Okay, I see you, our Zero.
Yeah, they use
go down by a Bob, and oh no.
Oh, that's gonna be big there from PG1, but Train Cloud this time turns the tables on him, gets the accretion. Big play coming out from the our Zero flex tank there, and now an opportunity for a brawl in this stairwell, and that's exactly where our Zero want to be with the Sim, with all of their teammates clustered up, and they'll break open here.
I don't necessarily agree with the aggression there from Nocturnal after the Gravitic Flux fails. Up until that point, makes perfect sense. But you didn't use the Blade, you didn't use the Supercharger. There wasn't really a way you were going to win that fight. Now you might, though.
Yeah, with the Super Blade out from Arn, who has forced out the Immortality field, but can't quite find any of the kills just yet. Eski will eventually fall, and now he turns his attention towards Cupcake. She goes down as well, and Nocturnal, on the back of that Blade combo, are able to push back in successfully.
Okay, and that was the fight that really determined how far this map was gonna go. It should still be Hour Zero's fight to take. The problem is they're coming in against a lot of this poke damage, right? And their rotations were so long and awkward the first time. They got a lot of resources out, sure, but now you're really just working against the amplification matrix. Skyward can put this down when you're forced onto the bridge and don't have a way to commit. Oh, of course they do the sim TP again, but the statement still stands. There's the long hallway that the amplification matrix is in. This shield's not going to be enough. You can't push past it.
Yeah, Viral gonna be able to find the kills there. The double kill, make it 3 with that one onto PG1, and now it's all over. But the cleanup here for Hour Zero as they push through point B, they combo together, and the overwhelming ult advantage that you talked about is exactly what ends up doing it for them.
Now you don't have that overwhelming ult advantage, right? You're down past 90 seconds. You've got just the Gravitic Flux if you're Hour Zero. Going into both the Blade and the Gravitic Flux, which stacks so beautifully for Nocturnal if they're able to find that without anybody getting hit by Train Cloud's accretion. You just gotta kind of slow play this Hour Zero and see how far you can get, see how many resources you can get in this first fight.
And they're waiting to commit to any of those ultimates immediately. Now the Amp Matrix going to come out from Cupcake. That is just going to buy a lot of space here for Hour Zero. Yeah. At least get the cart into position where it's one fight to finish off this match.
There's the Gravitic Flux coming out, though, and the Blade's still at the ready for Anhu. This could be nasty.
Yeah, indeed, but the answer Gravitic Flux from Train Cloud is absolutely massive. Kind of shuts down the Blade, but Anhu still manages to find the kill there onto Eski, and that's absolutely brutal for Hour Zero. They try to stay in that fight with the Gravitic Flux, but now they're on their last legs.
It was a clinical fight from Nocturnal. Gravitic Flux forces Immortality Field. Once the Blade is out, it's basically GG, go next. You don't have much time to go next, though, and Viral, he's pulling out the Miracle Pick. It's the Doomfist. He's just looking for a quick slap onto the back line. It's going to be pretty hard to find into a Brigida and a Baptiste, though. Good luck to you, Viral.
Yeah, we'll see if he can make it work. Has to come up clutch here, but Eski already falling, and that's not what you want to see.
It's not a letter number. It's not. All right? They lost 2 players. They were losing the fight. Doesn't count. I know you, Twitch chat. It does not count. But I will say that regardless, switching over to the Doomfist is kind of a telltale sign of desperation from Hour Zero, right? And fair enough, right? The Genji, Viral felt he didn't have enough time to build a Blade. He felt that he wasn't going to be able to go into the backline, get picks maybe. It wasn't enough burst damage. Whatever was going through his head, he went for the swap. Kudos to try something when everything else seems to not be working out. But the Genji's just hand and foot better than Doomfist right now, yeah? I mean, especially with the ultimate. You can supercharge it. You can armor pack it. It's just more consistent. Now, tables are going to be flipped. Sinoid on the defense is going to start out on the Ashe instead of the Widowmaker.
And I understand
an interesting
that.
one.
I understand it on the defense here. It gives you a much more consistent presence in the team fight. Whereas if you go with that Widow, you are kind of locking yourself in. You've got to deliver at that point, and it becomes much easier for Zimrit to go over the Ashe and just kind of bully the team fight as a whole.
Oh, for certain. I personally think that the Ashe is just better than Widowmaker right now in general, right? I mean, you don't get the quote-unquote one-shot headshot, but when you're working against double shields, only the best of the best of the best Widowmakers are finding those picks anyways. So, I mean, the Ashe is just far and away more consistent than the Widowmaker, especially on the defense, right? Because you know they have to touch the cart. That's a free spot for you to put your dynamite if you don't walk into a Widow like that.
Yeah, and that's something that I want Hour Zero to just be prepared for. You know that is a possibility. The Widow always going to peek down that alleyway, and Zimrit able to find the one-shot kill there. That's how you can make the Widowmaker more valuable than the Ashes. You just delete them from the fight immediately.
I said you have to find the picks. I mean, sometimes the picks go to you. Zemrit easily able to catch Sinoid off guard there. And now Zemrit actually gets to set up where he chooses to do so, right? He is getting bullied a little bit. Good work from Viral there to deny that position around the side, because that could have gotten nasty. But Viral also has to be careful of Anhu, right? It's double work.
Okay.
Hello? Excuse me?
Yeah, I want to know what happened. I really do. Lanaton with the 5K 3 into the river there. Just a beautiful halt, and that is real troublesome here for Hour Zero, especially as they're gonna get these spawns.
Yep, straight into the river. The 3 people who get pulled into the river are forced to walk back into it. Oh
that's
man.
Cruel. That's cruel right there.
That messes with your mental a lot of the time too. If you're on that team, like if I'm playing and I'm on the team that just got triple halted into the river there, my mental is cracked. Hopefully Hour Zero, they can work on past it. They're coming up to some key ultimates. Train Cloud nearly at the Gravitic Flux, but it's still a very much uphill battle, and we're already halfway through point B for Nocturnal.
Yeah, and so many ultimates now ready for Nocturnal. On who's gonna go in with the blade, just trying to use it to bait out some of those cooldowns. Does do so, but loses his life in the progress, and no one gonna stop that Flux from Train Cloud. Gets big damage in, but PG1 trying to keep this fight going here, wants to commit with his own Flux, will find one, but it's not gonna be enough. Hour Zero stabilize a little bit, and they needed that desperately.
I'm gonna say it one more time. Anhu bladed at the beginning of the fight. Despite the fact it was a 3-1 ult advantage, Nocturnal still lost the fight. All that needs to be said about that. Now you're walking into the amplification matrix. This is a nasty split. Every ult goes over to Hour Zero on their defense right now. They do need to actually find value though. It seems like members are still trickling across the board, and Hour Zero just jumped down into their waiting arms.
Yeah, the halt there from Lanaton, able to set up some kills there for the Nocturnal, as now the brawl ongoing. Anhu in the thick of things, getting some of these dash resets going, laying an insane amounts of damage, and Nocturnal gonna be able to get the payload underway once again.
Yeah, and I do have to correct myself. I think Sinoid might have been halted there, so once again, Linaton with beautiful halts, but still the fact of the matter is, once 3 or 4 players have trickled underneath you, Hour Zero, you just need to back up there. Now they gotta go in aggressively. Bob gets booped off though. He's not gonna contest.
Oh, and they've already lost Sinoid in the fight very early, even with the supercharger now out. That's just going to be so easy for Nocturnal to kite back, to wait it out, and now go in with the blade. Anhu trying his best to redeem himself a little bit. Will be able to take out Esky, but Viral, the one to find a little bit more early on in this fight, able to get 2 with his blade. And Hour Zero, they just keep hanging on.
Just by the skin of their teeth here, Shy Guy. And they had to use almost everything to do so. It's only going to be some staggered ultimates for Hour Zero. Amplification Matrix, sure. They're not really in the ideal position to really take full advantage of it. They might just pop it here up in the room. I think that would be a mistake if they did so. I think they should peel back, yeah, and use it later. Yeah, they didn't even have it online.
Oh,
but they can hold it again.
Sinoid with a nice response there, uses the coach gun to get back to safety, so no damage done just yet. But as I say it, Beacon Bauer going down, and the rest of Nocturnal surging forward. Zimrit with 3 kills there. The Amp Matrix and the Supercharger come out, and that's just disgusting.
These halts, man, these halts from Linaton. Hour Zero are not prepared for them. I mean, Train Cloud didn't even get a chance to use his Gravitic Flux that fight, right? And now we're looking at a blade for Anhu. This is gonna be rough. You can restabilize with the rally, and Nocturnal should just give up a bunch of space on this one. They're gonna be content with the fact that they got that support ult out of it. As long as Nocturnal don't lose anyone here, they can actually re-engage with their Blade and should be able to at least pull more resources out. Still plenty of time on the board, over 2.5 minutes for Nocturnal. So you're just playing a game of back and forth when it comes to the ultimate economy right now.
Yeah, but now they're going to have PG1 ready with that Gravitic Flux. If they want to go for the combo, they can do so. They're up in the air. The Blade going to be held onto this time for Anhu, but still the kills are there for Nocturnal. He dodges the Gravitic Flux from Train Cloud, and now that's his signal to go in. Yes, some kills being traded back here. Hour Zero making a fight of this when all seemed a little bit lost. Still, Lineton gonna be able to clean up there towards the end. Has the healing coming through from Nox. The rally almost on the line, and now things look grim for Hour Zero.
Hour Zero, they're coming back in on stall picks, but they're walking straight into a rally. Supercharger nearly available for Lineton too. I mean, one by one, Hour Zero are going to come into this fight, but unless Viral can get into the backline and assassinate Skyward or Nox, there's no hope.
No, and now with the Supercharger out as well, all of the damage is coming out from Nocturnal. They're ready to finish things off here, and now a couple nice headshots there from Zimrit will help them seal the deal. And that's all she wrote. Nocturnal take the series 2-0.
Got to give it to Nocturnal there, man. They were a team with the plan so often. And you know what? I didn't highlight him coming into this series, but yeah, you bet your bottom dollar that Lineton is the player of this map. Honestly, I'd give him player of the match. Dude was nasty with his Orisa hauls all day long. I mean, and it wasn't just flashy ones like the one off into the wall, right? It's these tiny little micro ones. These ones that I barely caught at some points, where you're pulling one, maybe two players off the high ground. You're repositioning an enemy Genji or an Ashe so they can get headshot, right? It's beautiful work coming out of the tank line in general for Nocturnal, because PG1 is also doing a phenomenal job. And that gives people like Anhu so much space to work with.
Yeah, so even if he does come into a fight and he flubs one of those blades a little bit or tries to dive in too deep when there's still resources on the other side, the rest of the team is always there to kind of back him up, and they can cover some of those mistakes. They can allow those DPS players to get insanely aggressive. And right now, it seems like a recipe for success for Nocturnal. They're on a roll at the moment. They now punch their ticket into that upper bracket. They'll be going up against Revival tomorrow night. And with the way that they're playing, that becomes a game that I am very interested to watch.
Oh, and we get to pick their brains, Shy Guy, or at least one of their brains, because we're gonna have an interview with one of them in just a second.
Yeah, so we will be right back with an interview with one of the members of Nocturnal after that win. All right, we're back, everybody. Now, with the man of the hour himself, Lineton, or Nate, as he is also known, is now joining us for a little bit of a victory interview. So, Lineton, that series went pretty much, kind of according to plan, I would say, for Nocturnal there. What were your expectations coming into this matchup with Hour Zero?
Well, we faced them a couple times, so we know our matchup. So our mental thing when we're in a game is just this is a scrim. We're scrimming right now. So we treat it as like a scrim, so we don't take it seriously, like where we make mistakes and we don't flame each other. So we play to like learn and adapt, kind of.
Absolutely.
Sure, gotta love that. Well, let's go back to Lijiang because I think that was the more contested of the two maps. What was it? What was it like coming out in that first round? What goes through your head when you're going into like the double Junkrat? And how do you think? I believe Nocturnal, if I remember correctly, the first round on Lijiang Control Center, you guys lost. So you guys say you treat it like a scrim. Does that help you just keep your mental solid and take the next two?
Yeah, I would say it was that, but also I had modem problems, so I never got to warm up with the team today. So I had to like go find a new modem for my house. So I was also like a little dry. I was a little dry trying to like get back into it because while the team was scrimming and they had to have a ringer, I was just trying to fix my modem for like an hour or two. So it was more of like us getting our bearings more than anything, I'd say.
Yeah, throughout the series, we saw you especially coming up clutch with those Orisa halts, setting up the team. Also, of course, finding big plays for yourself like that triple kill on Rialto. How do you work on kind of the finer points of Orisa using that halt to set up the team? How are you trying to practice that and hone that skill specifically?
Well, it kind of depends. Like on Rialto, especially on that second point, we know like a lot of teams hold that high ground. So we're just like, okay, this is a really good opportunity to pull a couple down and just melt them right away and have their team drop into us and to find that room where it's not because they can't kite back if they're in there. So kind of pulls like that where either it splits the team or pulls them all together for our DPS to do damage. I would just focus on those the most, and then like individual pools that can like single out targets that are away from the team also work well.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, now you guys won your first game. Congrats again. Tomorrow you go up against, I believe, Revival. How are you guys feeling going into that matchup?
Same as always, just a scrim.
Turn nameplates off and just play your game?
Yes. Just right in, play how we play it. Even if they're the best team in the world, if we play to them, if we play like to try beat them, then we're gonna make mistakes because we've never played that style before. So just play like a scrim and just win.
Fair enough.
All right. I love the mentality. It carried you guys to victory here tonight. So congratulations, Nate, on the victory. Thank you so much for joining us for the interview. We'll let you get back to your team, celebrate the win, and get ready for the remainder of the tournament. We're going to take a quick break right now, but don't go anywhere. We've got one more match coming your way. It's going to be Region taking on Gaia for the final match of the night.